Oh, oh, that hurt.
The next train leaving platform 2 Piccadilly is for Bradley. All aboard. Forgive me. Room for one more? Thank you. Oh. Hand luggage. Five men, one train carriage. No coincidence. No chance. Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Time to ditch the costume because it's too hot to wear it. Simply too hot. And I look like more like Gary Oldman in Bram Stoker's Dracula than I do like Peter Cushing as Dr. Shrek. Shrek. That's a German word meaning fright or fear. The more exact translation would be terror. Quite an unfortunate misnomer, for I am the mildest of men. Hey! Folks, let's ditch all that. Oh, look at that. Nice big werewolf there for you. From the film The Beast Must Die. From the horror film classic studio Amicus. And yes, I've been talking a lot about Hammer lately. Go back and check, I've been doing it a lot. But I thought, hang on a minute, there was a blood relative, or some would say a blood rival to Hammer. And of course, that would be Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg's Amicus films. Amicus Productions, Amicus Studios, whatever the hell their full name was. But Amicus to us. And they were like the sort of, the friendly version of Hammer. Dark, macabre films, full of werewolves, vampires, and other mysteries and madness. And a portmanteau effect normally, as in anthology movies. So you got more for your buck, basically. You went to see a film, you got 5 stories, probably at most, and a wraparound story to add to the deal. So it was great, you know. And a real bargain, which is something Hammer wasn't doing. And Hammer, of course, was a lot gorier, a lot more serious, a lot more po-faced. But Amicus thought, well, you know, maybe it was the American style. You know, we're going to lighten the load a bit here. We're going to be a bit cheeky, a bit more tongue-in-cheek, you know. So, anyway, I am Dr. Shrek for the time being, Dr. Terror. And I'm going to reveal to you my house of horrors. But first of all, I'm going to reveal to you some Jura single malt Scotch whiskey. Yes, we've got whiskey back in Hizzy for the first time in a long time. So if you've got something similar or whatever you've got to hand, and then to gob and imbibe. Cheers, you all. And today's tartan of choice, because I'm a doctor of tartan physics, or meta-tartan. It's a Ramsey Blue. Oh, aye, a Ramsey Blue. Amicus began not with the title of Amicus. Subotsky and Rosenberg made a film a few years before called City of the Dead with Christopher Lee, an occult, black magic and Satanist chiller. And it's great, and I've covered it extensively on the channel already, so do look at that one as well. Then, because Subotsky was also massively into pop culture and whatever the coming and going trends were, rock and roll and DJs and music and youth culture. So they did under Amicus's name, they did 2 films. It's Trad Dad and Just for Fun. Both were flops. It was just literally pop music, you know, of the era, and kids, you know, British teens having fun, you know, because obviously they had relocated to the UK. Obviously, Subotsky moved to the UK, whereas Rosenberg stayed mainly in New York. He was the businessman. He was the head of operations, whereas Subotsky was the creator of Amicus and a writer as well. And he had written a bunch of short stories, well, screenplays, with an idea to put them onto a TV show. So, sort of, a weekly serial. And with the idea of having Boris Karloff introduce them. That didn't happen. But his idea was that we'll put them on a TV show and then maybe we'll condense them into a movie, a la Ealing and the classic Dead of Night, which is a huge influence upon most of what Subotsky would come up with, because Amicus became synonymous with portmanteau movies, anthology movies, maybe five individual stories with different characters, all trapped together with an overarching story, bookending it, and obviously fate has stepped in. The Vault of Horror, Tales from the Crypt, Tales of Witness Madness. No, hang on a minute, he didn't do that one. That wasn't Amicus. It's connected to Amicus though, but we'll talk about that later if I remember. Torture Garden, Monster Club and all that. So, and now Screaming starts. All these things were the same sort of ethos that he had. And but the first one was Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. And I love this movie. Really passionately love the movie. It's not without many flaws, which we'll discuss at length as we go on. But it's such good fun, and it is the exact thing that stands for Amicus. Amicus is fun. You can think of Murray Hamilton as Mayor Vaughan and Amity. Yeah, Amicus is fun. It's beaches. It's the 4th of July. There's a massive killer out there eating people, but we're gonna have fun enjoying that as well, because Amicus is very the opposite of Hammer. Hammer was very sort of very serious, very gothic, very staid in their ways, and we all love Hammer. But if Hammer accidentally had any humour in it, then it was literally by accident. It wasn't put there by design. Maybe a few puns might be in there, but it really wasn't meant to be that way. And maybe a few ad-libs and impromptu moments from the likes of props Peter Cushing, of course, who is the guy that holds this film together as Dr. Terror, Dr. Shrek, as his actual name is. So what's it all about then? Well, we have a bunch of guys that arrive at the train station, Piccadilly, and they board a train, one of those old-fashioned compartments. And I love this. Trains these days are such boring, horrible bloody things. You're not in a compartment, you're all sitting there together, but that doesn't make it anything more sociable about it. In fact, if anything, it makes it even more antisocial. But a compartment with those doors that close and all that, and your luggage compartments overhead, and you've got these people all reading their papers and all this, and this is how this film starts. All these disparate strangers arrive at the platform individually and then all arrive in that compartment. And then last of all, Peter Cushing arrives. Room for one more. Which is a direct lift from Ealing's Dead of Night. A great quote from that. Oh God. Now I've opened this, and you can see I've opened it previously. I'll keep returning to it. But those compartments are they're a piece of history now in the UK. You don't get trains like that in the UK now at all. You just don't get them. And I've looked as well. This train goes from Piccadilly, and they actually filmed it at Piccadilly Station. Well, not the train compartment thing, but there's footage of trains leaving Piccadilly Station in London, and it's going to Bradley. I know several Bradleys around the country, but I don't know which one this is meant to be, or it's just purely fictitious. I would say it's fictitious, but I don't know. Because the 5 guys that get on there are all going to Bradley, by the sound of things anyway. It's not made massively clear. But first of all, you've got Alan Fluff Freeman, DJ, is on there. Australian, but made his name in the UK as a very, very famous, much loved and cherished DJ. Always smiling, always pop-tastic and all that, and choosing the hits for the pop pickers out there. And I've just realised I put that the wrong way around. Look at that. Look at that, folks. Look at that. How's that for a bit of foreshadowing? You wouldn't think I'd actually rehearsed that entrance, would you? No, you wouldn't, would you? No. Anyway, Alan Freeman's there. And then you get Neil I'll have to look at these because Neil McCallum, who plays Jim Dawson, he gets on. If you look at him, he's got a face like oh god, Ron Perlman in Name of the Rose. I kid you not, Ron Perlman's not gifted in the facial looks department. And this poor guy, you know, it's because he has that same shaped face and a bit of an upturned nose, which is appropriate for the story that he's in. So he's Canadian, and then you get oh god, is it Roy Castle gets on next? Roy Castle, yeah, who's terrific, of course, all-round entertainer, great musician as well. Like, and his story will be about music and a clever take on music and voodoo. He gets on, and he's the younger one, the more hip and with it sort of guy. Then you'll get Christopher Lee will get on as what's his name? Oh no, Franklin Marsh. I've seen the film a million times, but I knew his name was Marsh. Couldn't remember his first name. Franklin Marsh, who's an art critic, of course. But Christopher Lee is exceptionally well known by this stage. You know, this is 1965, so you'd had numerous Hammer movies with him in. He was a totemic alongside Peter Cushing, totemic, titanic, terror, and he gets on, and Roy Castle manages to trap his luggage in the door as he's about to get on, like, and immediately, you can see that Christopher Lee's not like a nice sort of guy. He's very stern, very authoritarian, as you'd expect from Christopher Lee, of course. Who then gets on, and then you get, unbelievably, Donald Sutherland, Canadian, had done several films this year. He's in The Castle of Living Dead alongside Christopher Lee. He's in The Bedford Incident with Richard Widmark and Sidney Poitier and Martin Balsam, which I've reviewed. And he was beginning to make a name for himself. So you've got a diverse group, and then of course, last minute, Peter Cushing gets on as Dr. Shrek. And there's only one space left, and he manages to get in there. Like, and of course, everyone's like, the thing about this movie is that the train compartment sequences, I think, are actually the best by far. But we'll discuss it a little more. What's going to happen is all these guys are going to have their fates delivered to them by Dr. Shrek, who's a practitioner of metaphysics, a doctor of metaphysics, which is pure nonsense according to Marsh, Christopher Lee's character, who's heard about all this bunkum and the lunatic fringe and all this, and he spends the first sort of few minutes of just debunking everything that Peter Cushing says. And the reason why this comes about, when they set off, Peter Cushing just assesses everybody in the room. Okay, right, and he's got like an attaché case on his lap. He's all bundled up, and he's got massive bushy eyebrows, fabulous grey whiskery beard, and with those sunken cheeks, it's one of the most satanic he's ever looked, which is appropriate, of course. But Shrek means terror, but I'm really the mildest of men, But sometimes what I have to say is frightening. Now, he has a very sort of cod Germanic accent. This is also a film of very bizarre accents which don't work, as we'll go through. But his accent dips in, dips out. Cushing wasn't the master of accents. He genuinely wasn't. In the film, the Amicus film, The Beast Must Die, this one here, he plays a professor of lycanthropy. It's all about that. And his mock European accent is really bad. It's pretty damn bad. And I love Cushing. I think Cushing's a genius, but he just couldn't do accents. Like Russell Crowe seems to be the modern day equivalent. A guy that attempts accents and thinks he can do them, but genuinely can't. And comes across like some pub drunk who thinks he's telling the funniest of stories, and yet you're laughing at him, not with him. And that's the kind of thing we're on here. But it works. In sort of the Amicus sort of, cozy comic book feel about these things. But he is frightening in this movie, I'll be totally honest. So he falls asleep after checking his pocket watch a couple of times. He manages to fall asleep, and his attaché case falls from his lap onto the floor, and everyone very quickly reaches down to help him with it. Oh, I'm sorry, do forgive me. And you see tons of stuff get put back into that attaché case. Letters, memos, transcripts, books. There's even old teletypes. If you look at it, there's teletypes there as well. And once you know how the film goes on and how it ends, and you know who Dr. Shrek really is, then you kind of think, I'd love to know what's all this stuff. Has the devil or God, because he's deaf basically. Oh, I've blown the big mystery there, but you knew it anyway. Does he get memos from on high or from down below? Does he get all these things? Texts, primitive text from teletype. I love it. Little letters in envelopes, and there's a lot of shit which has come out of this box, and his tarot cards. And like Roy Castle picks up and they've all come loose, and he's like, yeah, we're kind of deaf, man. We're kind of deaf, man. How should I poker with these? And he's great because he cajoles everybody else. He's got a twinkle in his eye, and a proper like chirpy grin on his face, and a real cocky attitude, and I like that. It's like, how should I poker with these? Christopher Lee leans round and then says very authoritatively, as obviously Christopher Lee can do so well, they're tarot cards. And like Cushing leaps in, oh, you know something about the tarot? Because they're pronounced tarot, not taro. But, sorry, I'm licking my front teeth because there's something stuck between them. Really big goofies. Yeah, right there. I know, I'll deal with it. Don't worry. But the best way. Cheers, John. Christopher Lee, his arrogance is legendary. Yes, we know that certain people got to know him very, very well. So he wasn't like that at all. And I can believe that. But he doesn't half put across the airs and graces. And he always did tell a lot of tall tales about exploits in World War II. And people that he knows and, his contacts and all that. Yes, there are some, but oh man, he massively embellished these things. And like the tarot cards. They're not pronounced that. I have tarot cards. I've had tarot cards since I was a teenager. And I learned how to use them as well. I've done videos on this, in fact. And everyone I've ever known who used tarot cards, and I mean people from Eastern Europe as well, who use tarot cards, they always pronounce it tarot cards. They never, no single person other than Christopher Lee has ever gone tarot cards. I know you're all going to go like, well, that's what I call them. Anyway. Well, what are they? They are a means to explain the future. Everybody has twin fates, a natural fate and a supernatural fate. These cards can foretell what that fate is and maybe a way around it, or whatever. A lot of mantra goes on here. They're all leaning in and they're all fascinated by this. As you would be, of course. You're trapped in a train carriage, woo woo, and all that, like the lovely sort of misty blue and green lighting outside the carriage windows is truly beautiful and intoxicating. So, well, we've got hours to kill. Well, let's tell some fortunes, shall we? But you've got Christopher Lee giving it loads. Oh, it's all bunkum, it's the lunatic fringe, it's all ridiculous. Whoosh, it's paper. And he's great. And you've got to remember, you've got Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, who've played against each other and even with each other in, see, they mentioned Robin Hood then, Sherlock Holmes and Hamlet of Baskervilles. They've played with each other in the movie sense of acting, not Don't make up your own versions, please. But it's great that Lee is not the monster in this. If anything, and he's not a monster, but if anything, Dr. Shrek is the guy that's pulling all the strings, and he's the more threatening and sinister, without any shadow of a doubt. He's the macabre character here, and he keeps eyeballing Christopher Lee. Peter Cushing keeps eyeballing him, you know, like and with a steady, slow beat, you know, like just looks over, listens to what he says, and like, you know, I can't make it look threatening because I've got such a cherubic face. I can't do that. But Cushing really nails it. When Cushing could be threatening as Frankenstein, as Grand Moff Tarkin, as a complete and utter sadistic maniac, which he's done before, he can be really severe. And there are great glimmers of that in these little interactions in between the main vignettes, where he's outstandingly good at it. So anyway, look, we've got stories to get through, and there's a few of them. So Neil McCallum, who's meant to be Scottish, I said about the accents, he's Canadian. His Scottish accent is not that good. It really isn't. But anyway, right? Does anyone want to go with this? Like, right? Well, what have we got to do? We've got to you tap the deck 3 times, dunk, dunk, dunk. Then he'll split the pack and all that, and shuffle it and all this kind of stuff. Like, I do not manipulate the cards. The cards use my hands to manipulate them. He says, Peter Cushing says, like, and then like he'll produce 4 cards, ka-doom, 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 and then we will dissolve into the story of that character. Before I go any further, it's a cute mechanism, obviously, and a great conceit which should be used time and time and time again. Scream and scream again. Another Amicus movie, which I've covered as well. We see the stories then get told as a film with other characters and things which, you know, that character who's on the train wouldn't know. But is Cushing as Shrek telling them as we see it? Is he just regurgitating? Is he narrating the story to all these people in the carriage? How does it happen? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But it is stupid if you actually sit down and think about it. So anyway, our first guy, Neil McCallum, as, what's his name? He is Jim Dawson, who's an architect and a building renovator. He has been recalled to his ancestral home in the Hebrides, right? Because he sold the family house, the family mansion, because, well, obviously, dire straits and, you know, needed the money. Sold the place, and now Mrs. Biddulph, who bought the place with her husband, who's now widowed, has requested him back to do some extensive renovations on the place because he knows the place really well. So off he goes, and Mrs. Biddulph is played by Ursula Howells. Very apt, because this vignette is entitled The Werewolf. Yeah. The opening story is a werewolf story. Oh, who you are? You know, wow, God, I couldn't believe, when I was a kid, I couldn't believe this when I first saw it. It's a werewolf story. And you find it out very quickly. They're not titled. When they devolve into these little vignettes, it doesn't say the werewolf, the vampire, the disembodied hand. It doesn't say that. The voodoo, the Asda. No, it doesn't do that. You just go into the story. But anyway, so he goes up there and he meets, Mrs. Biddulph. He also meets Caleb, played by the wonderful Peter Madden, who's in many, many horror movies and great dramas and thrillers, who's got a bit like, he's a more savage looking version of Peter Cushing, because he has those sunken in cheeks, like absolutely zero jowlage, just severely cut into, and a big ferocious brow, and eyes that just seem to just disappear, and yet even though in the deep recesses you can see some glimmering malevolence in them. He always said, like, I always play bad guys or sinister guys because, well, look what I've got to work with. but his face is outstanding. It really is great. It's a character in its own right. He hasn't got to speak. Just put his face looking through a window or through a crack in a door. You know, he's outstanding. He plays Caleb, the old retainer. And once this guy gets there, Dawson gets there, knocks on the door, or pulls up, ding-a-ling-a-ling, nothing happening, like. And we see someone come up behind him. And in a great shot, Alan Hume is the director of photography on this, the cinematographer. Outstanding work as well. Don't forget, director Freddie Francis of this movie was a cinematographer, then a filmmaker, Oscar winner in his own right. And so he and Alan Hume worked together on coordinating shots and lighting, and it looks staggeringly good. It's a really gorgeous film to look at. Sumptuous. Sure. And our first sighting of Caleb is behind some bushes. Again, stop making up your own stories here. And the way there's a twig across his eyes, and the twig moves, but you never see his eyes, and it's really disconcerting. It's a wonderful shot. Anyway, as he's ringing the bell and all that, like suddenly Caleb comes up behind him, like it obviously frightens him. And he goes, "Oh, Jamie lad, I've not seen ye for donkey's years," and all this kind of shit, like. And it's been a long time, Jamie. And like, "Oh, I've been summoned, you know, by Mrs. Biddulph." You know. And he meets Katie Wilde. Katie Wilde is the granddaughter of Caleb, and she plays Volder, and not a very particularly Scottish name, but Volder anyway. And Katie Wilde was in The Evil of Frankenstein with Peter Cushing. A great Frankenstein entry. It's one that most people don't like, but I've reviewed it and I've got a real good time with this movie. It's colourful, it's energetic, it's the most universal of the Hammer Frankenstein movies. And she's in that. And Freddie Francis used to bring back a lot of cast members that he'd used before, and people that he'd used first time around, he'd use them again after this. He was like that. A lot of the Hammer and Amicus directors and producers had a stable of cast members which they would always call from. So anyway, and he's got two of the Hammer biggest stars of all time, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. But anyway, so she's there, and she's the granddaughter of Caleb. And then we meet Ursula Howells, who's the widow, Mrs. Biddulph. So why would a beautiful woman like yourself want to hide herself up here in the Hebrides, in the middle of nowhere? And she's like, "Well, my husband was a great man. He was an archaeologist, and I want to knock down this wall and make a museum, to remember his name and all his passions and all that, And it seems reasonable, except for one thing. Everybody in this vignette, and each vignette lasts about 20 minutes. Actually, some seem to last a lot longer. Maybe they do. I never timed them all. But this one, the first one, the werewolf, is bloody good, but ridiculous at the same time. Katie Wilder's Volder seems to have, knowledge of something which this guy doesn't know. Caleb also seems very threatening, and yet he's "Oh, Jamie, that's all Jamie," And Jamie's like, "Oh, Volder, last time I saw you, you were this high," and all this. And anyway, they hear howling in the night, and Jamie Dawson just goes like, "What was that?" And Mrs. Biddulph just goes, "I heard nothing." "Oh, fuck off." So "I want this wall put down." He goes, "Okay, well, I'll do some preliminaries, and I'll have to check the foundations and all this." So he's got a great big crowbar. He's like, bang, 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 bang. "I need to go down to the cellar." She goes, "Well, you know the place better than anyone." "Well, of course I do, because my family own. I'm doing a worse accent than he does. And I'm the one wearing a kilt. My family owned this place for centuries." And then we learn very quickly that, he goes down the basement, and the basement door itself, the door to the cellar, there's the key. Volder, where's the key for this, down to the cellar?" "I don't know, sir." Oh, well, can you go and ask your grandfather, please? Maybe he knows. Okay, sir. Sinister looks, lingering moments, and all this, like. And you've seen Caleb at the window watching our boy fucking testing the walls and all this kind of crap, like. So you've got sinister stuff happening all the way around the screen at every moment. And they're all red herrings, folks. Well, seemingly. So, anyway, we get the key, and finally he opens the door, and then he realizes, hang on, he goes, the lock, and the mechanism, this has been oiled recently, you know. And Caleb's going, well, I didn't do it, you know. Don't know who could have done that. And he goes, oh, okay. He's got his trusty crowbar with him, like, and he goes down, like, it's a great set, to be honest. This is filmed at Shepperton Studios, all of this, with a couple of little other bits which we'll come on to, external shots. And he's got his crowbar, and you know, boom, 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 boom. Scratches away a little bit, foreshadowing, scratching, cobwebs, and then it's new plaster. There's a false wall been built. What the fuck? The case of M. Voldemort? Yeah. Subotsky, who wrote this and all these stories, had read and watched many horror movies and read many horror stories. So all of the stories you're going to get in this movie are influenced by something else. But yeah, this is the way films and stories work, you know. Start smashing through it. It's a great. I love the way you've done this. They must have mapped out a bit which they can, you know, hit there and this will come loose. They've obviously, you know, worked it out. And then you see an effigy of a lupine face, a wolf face, leering out at you from the shadows behind the wall. It's like, this is new plaster, you know. And Caleb was, you know, Caleb, come down here. And Caleb's like, you know, like, his face is fantastic. He comes down, bring the torch down here or whatever. Like, he goes, can you see this wolf face? He goes, that's Cosmo Voldemort, you know. I'm like, Voldemort? And we learn very swiftly here at this stage that back in the past, 200 years ago, Cosmo Voldemort, what the fuck was he doing in the Hebrides, you know what I mean? And Voldemort is, you know, a very great horror name. And didn't Paul Nashi, Jacinto Molina, in his long-running werewolf character, wasn't he Voldemar Daninsky? So Voldemar, it was known beforehand, you know, from the case of M. Voldemar, and then it went on afterwards. But Cosmo Voldemar always said that this was his house and your family nicked it and all that, blah blah blah, and there's a curse that he was killed by your ancestors, but no one could find the grave, but they buried him here. His coffin's here in the basement of your house, you know. It's fucking bomb. How did he secrete that there, you know, without the family knowing? Anyway, there he is. So our boy works through all the other wall and gets there, and oh look, tries to open the casket. It's a fabulous set. It looks brilliant. Set design is by Bill Constable, who would also do Torture Garden, Scream and Scream Again, and Terranauts, Amicus, and lots of other movies, of course. And it looks wonderful. Cobwebs and stuff, like a great creaky staircase, and all artifacts and drapes and things. But you can't open the lid of this coffin, because you need to get some more tools. Caleb, let's go get some more tools. But in the meantime, we see the coffin lid raise and a hairy hand comes out. Brief shot. And look, this goes on, and Mrs. Biddulph comes home from shopping on a bike, you know, and oh, you've opened the cellar door. Oh wow, yeah, it was it had been oiled, and there's a new wall down there. Who did that? She goes, oh, well, that must have been the workers who were here. Okay. He gets a note off Volder saying, I must meet with you, or I must speak to you. And it's put in his bedroom and all this, like. But before he can go and meet her, she's killed. Hey! You hear howling again, and old boy runs outside, and there's Caleb cradling his granddaughter. This is his granddaughter with a little bit of blood. Amicus didn't use a lot of blood. In fact, they barely ever used it, to be honest. There's a bit of blood down her neck. And he's like, well, it's very blasé about the whole thing, you know. What happened to her? And like, suddenly, Mrs. Biddulph comes down, like, and she's not frightened at all. It's dead bizarre. And they talk about the curse again, you know, oh, the Cosmo Voldemort will come back and like take his revenge on, and I'll give him an accent again, take his revenge upon the descendants of the ones who took the house from him and all this. You know, Blab and Blarney. To take the body in. And like, but our boy sees the tracks, sort of wolf prints. And like, right, and they're heading back towards the cellar door. They, you know, because they've already said Cosmo Voldemort was a werewolf. He's a werewolf, you know. So like, Dawson, the architect, goes and finds the really ornate big silver jewel encrusted crucifix on the wall in the parlour, which we've seen a couple of times, but it never drew reference to it until now. This crucifix is made from pure silver, from the sword that killed Cosmo. So you've got, you're learning more about this whole backstory. I'm going to melt this down because he'll come back tomorrow night, and I'll melt this down and make silver bullets. Caleb, have you got a gun? Aye, got a gun. And you think it'd be a fucking shotgun? You know, he's retaining it in the Hebrides. He wouldn't have a little handgun, would he? But he does. He has a handgun, a little snub-nosed handgun. 6-shooter. So somehow, I always thought about this. How the hell did he melt this down and make ballistics and bullets out of it, which are going to fit the chambers of that particular revolver? He shouldn't think like this, but I do think like this. And well, he's an architect. He knows building materials and practices. So maybe, yeah, he can smelt this stuff. There's a smithy down the road with a great big fucking, you know, brazier and all that. It doesn't really matter. Well, it matters in the end, but it doesn't matter to us. So he sits, you know, lying in wait, and the coffin raises and all that, like, and you don't see anything. He tells Mrs. Biddulph, you know, watch yourself because you're the owner of the house now. So he's coming. The curse means he's coming for you. So be careful. And and you hear her scream upstairs. So he's like, fucking hell, you know, oh God Almighty. You know, you have seen after the first killing of Katie Wilde's character, for just seemingly no fucking reason whatsoever, there's a dishevelled, you know, corpse, the bones and a bit of, you know, a mess in the coffin, which wasn't there beforehand. So he knows that, well, he's getting a spiritual form which comes out at night and can, you know, become corporeal and slay people. So I'm going to lie in wait and I'm going to shoot the bastard. Anyway, it gets out and he hasn't fucking seen it, and it's upstairs. Oh, he hears Ursula howling in fear. So he legs it up there. And we've seen her turn around and, like, you see clearly, I think it's a white German Shepherd, I think. Don't forget, Thor, the beast must die for Amicus. Amicus used a big German Shepherd with a lot of fake fur to make it look even more, you know, intimidating. But this white German Shepherd, you see it include snarling, and he gets into the room, like, and she's lying on the floor. Bang, 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 and it leaps over it. Whoa, bang, bang, bang. He's fired his 6 shots, and then it's great because it goes into this. Well, you don't see it. You get the impression it's run down the hall and into the cellar, and the cellar door just shuts behind it, like that. And he goes, I don't believe it. You know, these were silver bullets. I fired 6, like Donald Pleasance in Halloween. As Dr. Sam Loomis. I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. He's not human, you know. And I gave him a Scottish accent then as well. I said, it didn't work. These were silver bullets. And like suddenly we turn around and the shock conclusion is that Mrs. Biddulph, whose blonde hair has now gone very dark but shot through with grey, and she's got hairy hands now and claws, or just longer fingernails, and she goes, "Oh, you mean these silver bullets?" And her hands full of 5 of them, and then the 6th one gets dropped in, and she advances towards him like that, and he's like, "Oh, oh, 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 oh." You see the full curses, and it gets confusing as hell here. The full curse is that it's not going to be the owner of the house, it's going to be the descendants of the ones who took the house from him. And once your body, I'm making this more understandable for you because it doesn't come across this way in the movie. Once your body is in his casket, he can become physical again. And you know, I love my husband. I've been waiting a long time to bring him back. So she's the wife of Cosmo Voldemort. Fucking hell, these stupid names. She's waited all this time to bring him back. So she's 200 years old, and she's a werewolf as well. And then it ends. But the thing is, this story ends. But it doesn't make any sense. As you'll find, a lot of these stories don't make a lot of sense. Because it's a nice twist. But hang on, we already know that there's something out there. You know, a lot of critics now go like, the twist is that she was a werewolf all along. She's not the werewolf all along. She may be a werewolf, but Cosmo Voldemort has been out and about, because we see her arrive on the bike, having done shopping in the village earlier on, and we see bushes move. We know that Dawson and Caleb are working in the cellar or whatever. So, but something in the bushes is watching her and moves the bushes again when she looks around. So we know there's something else out there. These are all just little things to flesh out the story and make it more menacing. I know that. But in the cold light of day, when you go back and analyse it, you go, hang on, none of this adds up. And I'm afraid you'll find that with literally all these stories. None of it adds up at all. It doesn't detract from the experience of viewing the movie. So anyway, that's the trailer. What I'll have to do now, I'll explain later why I'm missing a certain track out for the time being. We go back to the carriage then, and of course he's like, holy shit. So we're expected to believe that Shrek just told him all of that, just verbally told him all that. And he says, where were you going? Well, I'm going to the Hebrides. Well, how would he know this? Yeah, how would this guy know all this shit? Like, and of course Christopher Lee's like, oh, it's scoffing, it's bullshit, you know. Yeah. And they're pronounced Taro, if you don't mind. Yeah. I know, because I met the man who created them. Yeah, because I am 6,000 years old. I am Dracula, you know. And well, is there any way I can get out of this? Well, the 5th card that we turn over, because don't forget, he turns over 4 cards, which are going to tell the fate of this guy, the predicament he's going to be in. But the 5th card you turn over, can you guess what it might be? Death! Death awaits you! Yeah. You have made a covenant with God and hell awaits you. Or whatever. So it's like, but Shrek, Peter Cushing, doesn't show him the card, just goes, oh, it doesn't matter, you know, puts it back in. Well, no, what was it? No, it doesn't matter. Would anybody else like to try the card? I'm giving him a really bizarre accent now. Anyone else like to try the House of Horrors? So the next one, it's Alan Freeman. Fluff Freeman, DJ. Oh, he's not a good actor, but you know, and he didn't act much after this. He acted only in parts where he's playing a DJ, which is just a natural for him, obviously. And he plays, who does he play? Bill Rogers, and he's about to go on holiday. He's about to meet his wife and his daughter and his dog, and they're going to go on holiday, and then they're going to come back home again. And in a nice little touch, Cushing just goes like, you're about to go on holiday? Yes, yeah, with your wife and your daughter. And he goes, how do you know I had a daughter? And Cushing just leans around, of course he knew, because there's a doll, a gift he's brought for his daughter, all packaged up, which he was wrapping up when we first met him. He's put it on top of him. He saw the doll for your daughter. This is clearly all part of a ploy. It's a well-rehearsed plot to somehow shice the money out of you people. In a lovely touch, Cushing again. In a lovely touch, and in a way of reworking this. Most hucksters have someone with them who's a debunker, who acts as look, don't fall for this shit because he's taking you for a ride, but really that person's working for the huckster as well, the trickster. So there's a way of viewing this, a way this could have been done, where Christopher Lee actually is in cahoots with Peter Cushing, but the way he's debunking it all the time and making all the other friendlier people more like, well, shut up, man. We're interested in this. This is fun. We've got hours to kill on the train. We may as well just have a bit of fun with all this. Although the fun is getting evaporated quite quickly. Anybody else? So it's Alan Freeman, and he gets. The story is it's the creeping vine. They get back from a holiday and discover there's a really weird weed growing up the side of the house. And this weed, they want it removed, and he can't hit it. He can't with a hoe. He's trying to cut through it, and here's another crazy moment. He's hitting him with a hoe, and his wife. Oh my God, his wife Anne Bell plays Anne Rogers. Oh my God. Look, folks, I have to say I am utterly smitten with this girl. This woman is truly astonishingly beautiful, really sexy, and she's got one of those 60s hairdos where a bit like this won't sound very attractive, but like a bit like a gorilla who have the not the fod, but the back of the skull rises up like that, like a coconut, and her hair does that. But she is such a beauty. Oh my God, with a hint of mischief about it. I like that. Anyway, she is there, and she hears clearly Alan Freeman going, "Oh!" And she runs out, "Honey, what's happened?" He said, "I was hitting with the hoe won't break it." Bad acting of Freeman's part. He said, and suddenly it screamed out like it was in pain. No, you screamed out. We heard you. If you fucking had a voice like that, that'd be a huge thing. It'd be talking to you. Anyway, he goes, "Pass me those shears." So he does that, and in a great shot, he goes to snip this thing, which is growing beside the house like a fucking triffid or a crinoid. And in a great editing shot, the shears fly out of his hand, and he's like, "Whoa!" Next thing, he goes to the ministry. The ministry. What ministry does he go to? You never find this out. And he meets Jeremy Kemp, the great Jeremy Kemp, and of course Bernard Lee, M himself, who apparently by all accounts was pissed as a fart the entire time he shot this vignette. He had just done Goldfinger as well at this stage, and he was a well-known character actor, but he looked like the tipple, did he not? Oh, which reminds me, I have another tipple myself. Cheers, y'all. And they go like, well, look, this plant made a noise. It protected itself. It's unheard of. Straight away, we have an error. If the plant defends itself and won't allow you to cut it, it throws any implements away. How is it that Fluff Freeman has got like fronds and leaves and bits of this plant to produce as evidence? He wouldn't have to cut them, and he's got stuff. And Jeremy Kemp studying it, and Bernard Lee pissed as a fart. He's sitting at the table. Apparently, if you film him when he's sitting down, if he's standing up, he won't be standing up for long. That's what they said. And he's going like, but a plant that can protect itself, the world could be in danger for something like that, whatever the line is. But it's, it's real, like, oh my God, pushing logic to its nth degree. So Jeremy Kemp goes, look, I think I should come and have a look at this because in a few days at your house, can you put me up? So they put him up, obviously. They have a little girl, oh, and a dog called Rusty. Oh dear God. Right. Carol Rogers, the little girl, is played by Sarah Nichols. Sarah Nichols is obviously, her name has changed over the many years, and she's got an actor's son these days. She is absolutely adorable, and she will break your heart. Jeremy Kemp's there. Jeremy Kemp plays Jerry Drake, and he's he's in one of the rooms in the house, and he's studying bits of plants. He's got his magnifying glass. He's got a microscope. That's what it's called. Couldn't think of what it was called then at all. And he's studying all these things, and she's playing with ball with the dog, and then she gets called in for tea. And she throws the ball in the air, and the dog lands by the plant, and the dog goes to the plant. Mum comes out and sees the dog strangled by a vine. Wah, big scream! Oh my God, they killed the dog! And it's it's horrible. And we cut back to the ministry again, like a Benico, like he's going like, a dog strangled by a vine. I find it hard to believe, and it's all very po-faced as well, like, but you just can't take any of it seriously. And this goes on, like, and we learn that Jeremy Kemp's like, oh, hang on, look, maybe this thing's got a brain, and we have like a sort of a little slideshow of other plants and how they, the Venus flytrap and other plants and how they exist and all this, and look after themselves. If we've got a plant that has a brain and can protect itself and defend itself and attack, well, the world will be over. Take over the world. Day of the Triffids. Freddie Francis worked on Day of the Triffids. John Wyndham's book, of course, celebrated, and the film, when they made it, was too short. So they added extra sequences with Kieran Moore, and I forgot the girl's name, in a lighthouse, and have a big siege at the lighthouse. And Freddie Francis was brought in to direct those extra scenes. So Freddie Francis had some prior knowledge of, plants going crazy. And Milton Subotsky also knew about these from obviously Day of the Triffids, and also other movies had used these things as well. So as sort of the modus operandi of death and demise and threat. So that's why his story came about. So, well, this thing's got a brain, So Jeremy Kemp goes back there, and he's still studying all this, and he sees under a microscope, and he sees, so again, they're getting offcuts from this plant. How the plant defends it, and the plant's growing. There's a lot more of it around the house now. It's laying seeds to the house basically, and it's like, well, how have they got these bits? If it throws shears away and breaks them in half, and can they stand a hoe being driven into it? What the hell? Where are you getting these little cuttings from? And then he looks down the microscope and he goes, and you see a brain, and he goes like, the brain, I was right. It's genius. And he's making his little notes. We see a vine coming up behind him. Oh God. And the mother, the wife of Alan Freeman, he's going, would you like some lunch? Oh, well, I'm a bit busy at the moment, blah, 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 whatever. And the vine comes up behind him, and it fucking strangles him. He's like, he comes off his chair, his feet go up in the air and all this. Like, he's strangled by a vine. Got the dog as well, don't forget. So it's got previous. And but in the heartbreaking moments, oh my God, she's taking food to Jeremy Kemp's character, but she sees her daughter sitting there with pigtails and little round glasses, and oh my God, this breaks me in half. This, it really does. And she goes like, what's the girl's name? Carol, why did it's a lovely day when you go and play outside. And this little girl just looks at her mum and then thinks and takes her glasses off slowly. It's no fun without Rusty. Oh shit. It fucking gets you. She's so good. the little pause that she gives, and the, like props Peter, they're taking off the glasses. It's no fun without Rusty. You go, oh, it's just utterly heartbreaking. In an Amicus film as well, and it tugs your heartstrings like a creeping vine tugging at your heartstrings and strangling them, snuffing them out. So it's just killed Jeremy Kemp. Of course, the mum, after multiple shocks, goes in there, like finds him strangulated, and she's like, ah! The whole fucking dinner tray goes flying. So Bernard Lee comes round there, and this poor guy still lying there. They haven't called the cops. You haven't called the police. Well, we didn't know what to do, says Alan Freeman. We just called you. So he's there now. Right, and the vines have now taken over the house, I should say. They're over every single window. And like, you've got Bernard Lee, pissed as a fart, but actually standing up and moving around, lighting his pipe, and the vines come back from the window, retreat, and he's like, that's it, fire. Most sentient things retreat from fire. Right, that's our way. So he lights some papers on fire, and he goes out the front door to get to the car to go and get help, and he's like driving them all back, and the vines are all pulling back and all this, and it's quite effective. I'll be honest. Very clearly, it's primitive effects. You've got these lovely looking vine things, and there's obviously people with strings pulling these things, or off camera, their hands waggling, these things, and it works. It works fine. And you hear the car drive off. You don't see him get in the car, but you hear the car drive off. So the family are together now, like, oh, we must be safe now. He's going to go and get help. And then we see the vines snuff out the flames of the papers that have been on fire, dropped on the deck. They snuff them out. We clearly know they haven't got Bernard Lee because we heard his car drive away from the driveway. Clearly he's got away. But then these things come back, but the point they're making is that they've now got over their fear of fire very quickly. Oh, we can snuff it out. I'm not afraid of fire. Bernard Lee has said earlier, another one of his prophetic statements, a threat that's not afraid of fire. Oh, they take over the world. Yeah, something like that anyway. And it ends there. So what happens to the family? Well, you don't know. So of course, Alan Freeman's kind of like, well, that's what's in store for me. And like, well, what happens? And he pulls Peter Cushing pulls a card, doesn't show them. I don't bother with this, but yeah, you gotta do that. Yeah, it's death again. Like, puts it back in the pack. The next story, of course, is Roy Castle. Roy Castle, Mr. Vaudeville, Mr. All-Round Entertainer. He's Biff Bailey, who's a jazz musicianist with his band, and they're playing in London. They're giving it. They're crazy kids and all that, like. And this part was meant to go to Acker Bilk, the great British trumpeter Acker Bilk. But Acker Bilk suffered a heart attack just before meant to be appearing on set. Didn't die from that, but had a heart attack and obviously couldn't fulfil this obligation. So they then went to Roy Castle, and the band he's playing with are the Tubby Hayes Quintet. Yeah, I've got to make a note. I've got my notes. I don't remember all this stuff, The Tubby Hayes Quintet. Another drunk. Tubby Hayes was a drunk. He was a massive drunk. I can't knock it because that's what I am as well. But he was like, if he was standing up and playing, it was fine. But he's often like just a full face down because he'd be that pissed. And although Roy Castle was a very, very accomplished musician and a brilliant trumpeter, it's not him playing the trumpet. He's miming to Tubby Hayes, and the reason for that is Tubby Hayes was contracted to play the jazz music for it, so they couldn't have Roy Castle do that. But Roy Castle really does, he mimes it brilliantly. You would think he was doing that. Anyway, their agent, who I didn't write the character's name down. I think his name's Billy Shine or something like that. It's something pure Cockney and wide boy. And I forgot, I didn't write the actor's name down either. But he's great. I've got you a gig in the West Indies and Haiti, this club. And get out there. It's going to be great. I can promise you, like, you know, days of sunshine and like nights of passion and wildness and all that. It's going to be wonderful. Get your ass out there. So this is a film about accents which don't work. Oh my God. Roy Castle then goes back to it, his band. We're going out to the West Indies, boys. And they really go to town on playing a lot of music and jazz in this sequence. They're really promoting that. Remember I said Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg loved all this sort of stuff. So it's not surprised that they're doing this. And he then does what he thinks is a West Indian accent. It's not. It's a pure Indian accent. And it sounds really, really bad. And it strikes a really bum note in a musical episode, a really severely bum note. Not only is it completely racist, you know, by today's standards, we were all doing it back in the day. Oh, don't get me wrong, and don't denounce me. We didn't know any difference. We were doing it, and but I won't do it right now. I could do, but I won't. But he gets it completely wrong, and it's unbelievable how they kept this in there, because it's not a Caribbean or West Indian accent at all. It is so completely wrong. Anyway, off they go. And we meet Kenny Lynch. Kenny Lynch, wonderful. Oh, another, like Roy Castle, in the 60s and 70s, films and TV shows, guest starring and he was a singer, an all-round entertainer. Brilliant. And he's crooning a song in this club, this Haitian club. And our boys are there. So Roy Castle and his band are all there, and they're loving all this. And it's an extended music sequence, and Kenny Lynch is dancing around. Then he comes and joins them, and he says, like, oh, so you're the boys who are replacing me then? And Roy Castle just goes like, oh, wow, it's great to meet a real West Indian, you know, singing this stuff. And he goes, what do you mean West Indian? I'm from the East End. The first music I ever heard was Bow Bells. It's brilliant. It cuts him down to size, because Roy Castle plays an absolute wide boy. I should have said, because he's the young one, the trad, you know, not trad, he's more like rad. You got to tap the deck of cards 3 times for Dr. Shrek. Dunk, dunk, dunk. He does something which I can't mimic. He goes dunk, clicks his fingers, dunk, clicks his fingers, dunk, clicks his fingers. I can't click your fingers. Well, I can, but I don't get a sound out of it. No, I just get like really burnt skin. So, anyway, but they form an attachment. So, like, you know, a girl comes over. They're in this bar, this club, like, and he buys some cigarettes. You know, I'm old enough. He says to her, like, he's energetic. Roy Castle. He's on the go all the time, and he's a real bundle of energy and enthusiasm. But they're all wearing these voodoo amulets, and he sees the ring she's wearing with the same effigy on it. He goes, look at that monster. Everyone goes silent. Everyone turns and you know, like kind of just like, you know, don't mess with voodoo. You know, that's the one thing you don't do out here. That's their religion. You know, don't mess with that. And he's like, oh, okay, you know, I'm sorry about that. Like, and the girl storms off. Like, but you look at every single woman's wearing one of these medallions, and they all got the rings like this. So, like, I've heard about this voodoo. You know, they all, you know, is it what they say? Like, yeah, you'll hear it from your hotel room out in the jungle. Yeah, it's really, they dance around with not much on. So you know all this stuff, like, and you get like a really colourful, brilliantly staged voodoo ritual taking place. This is 1965. It's not Angel Heart here. You know, it's not Serpent and Rainbow. This doesn't go too far. A lot of dancing, a lot of bongos. So he hears this, and he goes up there and he spies on it, and he loves that rhythm, man. That beat, that crazy rhythm. You know, he starts writing it down. And you see him writing musical notes, like I'm showing you. He's writing musical notes. He's getting on this, and then it's a great comical sequence, because he's writing all this, and then you see like you know, obviously a voodoo guard, sentry, watchdog walks up behind him and stands there like that behind him, and then we see more and more of this activity, all this frenzied dancing and all that going on, this crazy beat rhythm, man. Cut back to Rick Castle, another guy stood behind him, and each time it cuts back to him, there's another guy, there's another another voodoo guy stood behind him, like, and then suddenly he gets to realise, he's like, he gets thrown in, and he meets the guy in charge of all this. I should say at this point, the choreography of this voodoo sequence is done by a guy called Bosco Holder. Oh, I didn't have to give me notes, did I? Bosco Holder did that. A Trinidadian. His brother is Jeffrey Holder. Jeffrey Holder is in Live and Let Die with Roger Moore and Jane Seymour, and he plays Baron Samedi. Of course, voodoo again. Baron Samedi, Jeffrey Holder, Bosco Holder. I love that connection. I think that's brilliant. So, the guy takes the big sort of chieftain, takes the witch doctor, takes the mask off, like, and like Rick Castle like that. He's like, "What are you doing? You're studying the music of the great god Dambuli, Drambuie." And the reason I've got that wrong is because he says the name several times, and he actually says it differently a couple of times throughout that. You watch that scene, he says it differently, and he says it a lot. You're stealing the music from the great god Dambili. You're insulting the god Dambuli. And then something else, the god Dambela. He says it several different times, like several different ways. And he's like, I'm just taking the music, man. It's so catchy. Look, if it means a lot much to you, we can go 50-50 on it. This could be a great hit. He's been held up by these guys. His little feet are off the ground, facing this huge, intimidating voodoo priest. And anyway, this has been Dambuli's music for centuries. So it's out of copyright then. Hours of copyright. He still clings to believe he can get this legitimately. And they fling it around. Go now. You take nothing from Dambula. See, I'm getting the name wrong a million times over now. You take nothing from him because he will come for you, and he'll take back what it is, and he'll get revenge wherever you go. Anyway, but he has written the music down. So he goes and tells Kenny Lynch, and who now they were replacing him, but now he's joined them seemingly. I don't know how that worked out, but I like that. He said, like, "Oh, I've got the music. Oh, don't mess with that, man. That's voodoo. They'll get you somehow or other. Oh, what's a voodoo god going to do to me?" And he leans against the balustrade on this sort of balcony thing, and it gives way, and he falls into very clearly. Don't forget, they filmed this at Shepperton Studios. They have not gone to the West Indies or Haiti at all. So this set, but the exotic backdrop looks amazing. The sulky sort of pink and blue azure skies and all that look really good. They're very, very evocative. You get the idea that you're in the West Indies, you're in the Caribbean, man. And he falls into what is clearly a lake with leaves all over it and ivy and all that. Just horrible, cold, wet. Well, it's going to be wet. It's a fucking lake, and he's there, and it's Roy Castle. It's clearly a cut. I'll tell you where it is, because River Ash at Shepperton Studios, the River Ash, because you see it again in Christopher Lee's story, and you see all this. It's a similar location, but anyway, that's where he is, and it looks so bizarre that you go like, that's not Caribbean at all. That's a fucking freezing little river or lake in Surrey somewhere, or Berkshire. No. So, God can't get me. We cut back to Britain, to Blighty, to London, and you got Kenny Lynch giving it again. Loads of all this lovey-dovey stuff, and all hip and jive and all that. It's working great. And then now Biff Bailey with his voodoo version of something he learns out in the West Indies. And I listen to this, and we do get, he does a jazz sort of pop version of what you heard, this tribal ritual dance. And he's got all voodoo effigies there, and he makes a mockery of them as well. And while this thing's taking place, suddenly the doors and windows open, and this ferocious wind comes through. blowing everyone, and the tables are going over. Everyone's like, wow, the hair's going haywire. And that guy, Sammy Shine or whatever. I should have said Kenny Lynch's character's called Sammy Coyne. So you've got Coyne, and I think the agent's called Shine. Sure it is. And he's like, what the hell, you know? Like, you gotta cut this off. Oh, everyone's running out and all this. It's a tempest. And like, they're all calling the gig off and all that. And Roy Castle's going like, well, you know, that's just wind. It's just wind, you know. And Kenny Lynch goes like, well, you know, who do you think blew that wind? You know, Kenny Ball. Kenny Ball was another jazz musician with his band, the Kenny Ball 5 or whatever, who used to be on like Morecambe and Wise and Two Ronnies and lots of TV shows and comedy shows and, you know, chat shows and stuff during the 60s and 70s. So that's where the pun comes in. Now you've got to think that Milton Subotsky wouldn't have known perhaps who these people. Well, maybe he would. He followed the trends, so maybe he did. Now I'm kind of inclined to believe that these little throwaway comments like that would be sort of I think a line I could use here. Oh, use that because this guy is so brilliant. Put it in there. We'll do that then. Freddie Francis and Milton Subotsky would have gone like, that's fine. Do it. So. You mess with the voodoo gods, you're in the shit now, man. And no, I'll be fine, don't worry. And then we get the first of two Luton walks. I've discussed Val Luton and Jack Turner, the movies, the Cat People, Leopard Man, oh god, 7 fantastic movies that they made. Well, that Val Luton produced, different directors, but Jack Turner and Cat People. Having someone being pursued, a very suspenseful pursuit. You don't see the person pursuing them, but you know that they're in trouble and they're looking behind them. And then at the last minute, you get a huge jump scare, which is not the protagonist, not the antagonist, not the aggressor, not the monster, not that. It's an innocuous, innocent thing, but it makes the audience jump. So you got the Luton walk and the Luton jump scare, the Luton bus, because in Cat People it's a bus that comes up, and I've reviewed Cat People as well. So you get the first of two in this movie, Terrace House of Horrors, and Roy Castle then walks the elaborately evocative, you know, London street, the East End London streets. It's all a studio set, Shepperton, and the wind's picking up behind him. He's pulling his collars up. A guy opens a telephone box. And it's a black guy. Like, it's important that not being just, you know, well, why'd you mention that? Because it's about voodoo, it's about Haiti, and he'd obviously be shitting himself because, and this guy comes in, got a light, man, and he goes, yeah, gets his matchbox out, like, and he goes, well, just you take the lot, thank you. And the guy just turns and looks at him, and he's getting blown away. He falls over a fucking dustbin as well. Roy Castle's one of these, a bit like Lee Evans would be in later years. You know, I'm going to fall, I'm going to pratfall, I'm going to be energetic, I'm going to be moving around the screen all the time. In a way, a bit like Peter Cushing would always be like that, where props Peter would always use something to, like, you know, even if it's a static scene, you'd have to occupy the audience's mind, take your attention off his face onto what he's doing, give movements in the frame. Very clever. It takes a consummate professional to do it, or a natural to do it. But Roy Castle does all this because he's pratfalling all over the show, and in a wonderful breaking the fourth wall moment, he falls over a bit and then comes across a poster for Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. The fuck, you know. And the poster is not the actual movie poster for this movie. It's a newly designed one for this sequence with a big voodoo mask, devil mask thing there, and the cast members of this particular in the film movie are the character names of some of the guys from the compartment of the train. Frederick Marsh, Christopher Lee's character, is there. Is it Frederick Marsh? I always get this name wrong. Franklin Marsh. Frederick Marsh played Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in a version. So anyway, this poster's there, and Roy Castle gets up and he looks at it, and he's like, so it gives the audience time to see this and realise, hang on, that's clever. Now, I don't know, but this may well be the first time that a film has done that sort of thing, broken that fourth wall. You may know more than I do. I can't think of anything else before this. Plenty since, but this was again showing Milton Subotsky's sort of penchant for it's only a film, and I want to entertain, and like this will be great. People are going to come back and see it again and go, I didn't clock that first time round. Wow, maybe there's more that I didn't see, and I'm going to come back again and again. You can see how that idea really germinated, So he sees all this wonderful. And he gets back to his apartment, and the windows, because the winds get picked up again, like whoosh, all his windows are coming down. He gets a drink. I don't think he gets a swig of his drink, so I'll do it for him. And he gets to his piano, I think, as well. Like, you think he's going to start playing something melancholy, but he doesn't do it. And then, anyway, the doors open, the wind comes in, and a big black Dambula comes in, like, and think a few years later, The Devil Rides Out, where the Duke de Richelieu and his buddy have gone to Patrick McNee's house, his observatory, and the MacArthur has a demon manifest, and it's a djinn, it's an evil genie, a djinn, and it's a big, almost Haitian voodoo black god with glowing eyes. Don't look at the eyes, Rex, don't look at the eyes. And you got Rex is going like, oh, too late, I think it looks like the eyes, why didn't you tell me beforehand, And and this guy looks just like that, like this big evil djinn, and he puts his hands up like that, and Roy Castle just goes, passes out, and he takes all this time. He's had the musical manuscript in his pocket, in his breast pocket, inside breast pocket. He takes them all out and I've got my music back, come on, and off he goes. And as he walks out, the door shuts behind him. This film is a lot about doors shutting behind people, or doors shutting when something has gone through and you haven't seen it, the door shuts. I like that. And but did Roy Castle does his character, does Biff Bailey just pass out, or does he die at heart attack? What? Again, you don't know. So you cut back to the train carriage, and Roy Castle's going, so same for me. No way out of this. Well, that'll teach me not to steal someone's music ever again. And of course we know it's a death card. He gets pulled as well. You haven't seen the death card for any of them. Peter Cushing keeps that to himself. So of course now, because of all of this, Christopher Lee's kind of like, maybe you'd like to try this. He's like, well, he's been suckered in now because all these things are making relevance to all these different characters. So go on then, do your worst, whatever. And we get the disembodied hand. There's one up there. There's one over here as well. Look, they're everywhere. Gotta hand it to you, And he's an art critic, Franklin Marsh, and he's a complete arrogant, stereotypical, cliched twat of an art critic. So full of himself and his own ego, that he'll denounce anyone. His opinion is what matters, and we're straight into a rivalry, a butting of heads between him and the great Michael Gough, Conga, and so Sleepy Hollow, and Batman. Got so many movies, Horror Hospital and all that. Oh, he's outstanding. I always think his younger years he looks like Kevin Costner. You look, it's Kevin Costner. And he plays Eric Landor, this modern artist. And we meet them at an exhibition of Eric Landor's latest, works. And there's all a big, an entourage around Christopher Lee's character. So of course, this pile of shit here, you know. He's denouncing every single thing, like, this guy's got no talent, what the hell does this mean, blah, blah, blah. And Michael Gough comes out and he's like, you know, Eric Lander, he's like, you know, oh, you don't like what I do? Well, yeah, there's not, what is it you're doing? Well, you know, art is subjective and blah, 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 blah. It's like, you know, to see what, you know, what I want you to see, you know, no, hang on, you know, this piece in particular, I invite the viewer to make up their own interpretation. You know, and he's like, well, I see with these, you know, my eyes, my vision is what guides my life. Foreshadowing here, you know, my eyes and my vision, that's my art. Well, why are you here then? So someone else says, like, if you don't like his shit, like, why are you here? And he's like, well, it's my job. I'm paid to be here, you know. So like, well, maybe you'd like some other kind of art. We've got this new one just come in now, and his assistant comes out and presents him with this piece of really colourful, garish artwork. Now you see, now this is art. You can see how the artist has taken the modern ideas and just thrown them to the wind and done his own thing. It's rebellious, it's crazy, you know, the wonderful use of colours and all this blah, 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 blah. Well, God, if it's that good, it would be great to meet the artist, wouldn't it? Yeah, could we meet the artist? Well, and his assistant goes, well, he's here right now. Oh, right. And you can see Christopher Lee's kind of like, oh, is he? Oh, my word. And this would be great. And she introduces a chimp. And this chimp, James the chimp, a performing chimp, comes out, he's lovely as well. His little artist fucking, you know, suit and all that, like. And it would have been great if he had a paintbrush in his hand as well, but they don't do that, like. And he comes out, and the audience are all like, ha 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 ha. Michael Gough got him back. And Christopher Lee's brilliant. What Christopher Lee does, he's playing totally in his main character to what everyone thought he was like. He's a great actor, do not get me wrong, but I've always said his range is a lot more limited than the likes of Peter Cushing. You can't help but put the two together and compare them. But Christopher Lee is still brilliant, and I love the guy. I love what he did, and he crumbles here, and his exterior, his veneer, his facade cracks, and he's like, and he pushes his way out of there, like, and Michael Gough is laughing his vengeance back, but his vengeance doesn't stop there. So every single event that Marsh goes to, Michael Gough, Eric Lander will be there, and like, you know, Christopher Lee's giving a speech at the top table, and suddenly you'll see, you know, Michael Gough there with like a string of you know, paper cutout, and he'll extend it, and it's all chimps, all monkeys there, and like he can't do his speech. Everywhere he goes, Eric Lander is there laughing in the background, getting his vengeance, and it's great comeuppance. And then of course Lander has some new artwork in his suite, his artist. There's a name for it, you know. His museum, whatever you call it, gallery. That's the word we're looking for. Thanks in the background there. You with the skull face, yeah. Thanks for that. Gallery, and he comes out with his gallery. Life's good, and you've got Christopher Lee in his car just up the road. Fucking runs him over, hits him over the bonnet of his car, and then drives over his hand, his painterly hand. It's fucking trailer again. And he ends up in hospital, and his hand's been amputated, his hand's been knackered. And I go, who's this guy again? It's Eric Lander, the famous artist. Artist, you say? No longer. His painted hand's gone. And Michael Gough wakes up and sees this bandaged stump. And commits suicide with his left hand. If I was left-handed and trying to do it, I'd miss my head by about several feet, you know. Shoot myself in my arse, whatever, like. But Christopher Lee's character knows this, and it's clearly conscience has got him, but he keeps quiet about the whole thing, as you would. But that severed hand, done by, it cost £400 English pounds. Ted Samuels was the special effects guy on this movie, and he made this hand, and the hand is great. It is great, and the way it moves, and it does this, it kind of goes, moves, and then goes, whoa. Yeah. It does an up and a down, an up and a down, and it's wonderful. It's clear, it's of its time. It's 1965, for fuck's sake. No CGI involved in here. And you see it on the back of the passenger seat in Christopher Lee's driving his car, all happy with himself, like his fucking hands there, like he's like, whoa, Jesus Christ, throws it out, and it's on the road. It's like, goes back home, and this hand keeps on coming after him. It fucking knocks on his door, bum 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 bum. I think you'd be sitting there he's sitting by his fireplace, and he's all like, he's a bit rattled by a severed hand coming after him in his car, and then like knock on his parlour room door. It'd be low down, wouldn't it? You'd be, knock. And he goes to the door and he opens it. Who's there? Like, opens it up, looks out, no one's there, shuts the door very quickly. That fucking hand must have sprinted. You'd see how it's moving super slow all the time with all this movement. It must have gone in there, like. And he shuts the door and all that. And he's by the fireplace, poking the fire, as you do. If you've got a real roaring fire, you can't help yourself, can you? If you're out in the wilds and you've got a big fire going, you're poking the wood, watching it go and collapse in. You've got to do it. It's great. And then you get up and start pissing on it. That's another thing people tend to do as well. And he's doing this, and the fucking hand comes from him, and he's like, huh! And Christopher Lee, I don't think has ever acted as afraid as he does in this scene. He's like, oh! His super slick back hair, his decorum, his full demeanour is diminished. See how I did that there? And he's like, oh, this hand's on his leg. He's like, oh God. And he gets the fire pincers, and then gets it and throws it on the fire. Oh, fucking ablaze. And he's like, oh God. Oh. He's back at work again. But he's clearly flustered by all this whole thing. One of his work, I don't think he writes for a paper, his column and all that, his critique column. And his colleague saying to him, like, this is early on, I think, like, you come for the bevy? And he's like, no, the words aren't coming easy to me, typewriter. I just can't, focus at the moment. Well, it's not like you. Come on for a drink. No, I'll give it a miss, if you don't mind. Fuck off. It's pronounced Taro cards, if you please. And, but this time, like, the Bairn's blue and black charcoal hand comes up through his window, comes down the side, like, and he's sitting there typing away, and you see it on the desk behind him, and it's clearly a real man's hand. It's a great edit, by the way. It comes up like that, and it's, you can tell when it's a real hand doing all this, and then just when you get to the stump bit, it cuts away. It's a great shot, brilliantly done. And then suddenly he's like, goes on. His bent black hand is choking him out, and he manages to prise it off, and he's got like a letter opener, and he fucking stamps down. Great big metal box. Not sure what it's meant to be. Is it a cigar case or something? I don't know. Who has that many cigars? Not me, I can tell you that. And he puts it in there. Takes it to a bridge. Now, the bridge is, I just said before, River Ash in Shepperton Studios land. The River Ash, and it's a lovely bridge, goes over it, and he chucks it, this case with the hand in it, over the side, into the water, and it just sinks below. He's like, gets into his car, drives away, and but that river it's got to be where Roy Castle is there, like the great god Dambula swept him over the balcony. That's got to be the same place. same fronds are in the river. It's got to be the same. So he's got rid of the hand again. But what gets me about this is like, and I don't think it incriminates him. He'd be like, look, I've been menaced by a severed hand. It's in the box here. Go to the police. Go to the TV studios. Go to someone and say, there's a severed hand that's alive in here. Mind you, wouldn't that be great though, wouldn't it? There's another version, the paranoia. Because this is based, of course, on the Beast with Five Fingers. Yeah, you knew that. I said Subotsky based all these stories on things he'd read before, or they'd been on TV or in movies beforehand. They're all influenced by something else in the past. And you can imagine, look, the hand's alive in here. Can you not hear it? The telltale heart, very similar. Unlatch the case, nothing in there. Or is it just a dead hand? Well, that's a dead hand, sir. Whose hand's that? Fingerprint this, please. Did you have anything to do with the death of... So you can see, maybe that's why he didn't do it, then obviously. Oh, poof, it's in the water. Only it doesn't stay in the water, does it? Oh no. And this is the thing that gets me, because a lot of these stories, they could be, if you'd thought a bit more, done a second or third pass at them, the ending would be better. And this one, again, suddenly the hand's in, well, he's driving through in the rain, and the fucking hand comes back suddenly on the windscreen wipers. It's there, and in the rainstorm and the panic, Marsh steers the car off the road, tumbles down the thing, and you get the next day, the car's overturned, and but he's not dead, but he's been shoveled into an ambulance, and the police are there, and the ambulance guy goes like, oh, poor guy, like, he'll never, he's lost his sight, he'll be blind for life, but blind guys can still get by though, can't they? And of course, what he said beforehand, you hear a big scream, ah! He said earlier, my eyes are my vision, and my vision is my life, and all whatever he says, like, I can see clearly, when he's insulting Michael Gough's artwork. So you can, it's the comeuppance there, but again, he's not dead. But anyway, does he commit suicide as well? Is that supposed to be the thing? I don't know. And we cut back, of course, to Christopher Lee, and he's clearly rattled by this. He's now seeing there's something in this. Oh my God. Well, right. I'm trying to think what he says. I can't remember what he says. Not happy anyway. And we've got one guy left, Donald Sutherland, who's been great in this. In the train compartment sequence, he's been wonderful. Very happy, those big googly eyes, blonde hair and all that, like that big face of his gangly nature, gangly and googly, not really Hollywood material, and yet Donald Sutherland so was, and that voice of his, wonderful. I've covered many of his movies in the past, and I think he's outstanding. We miss him terribly. He was still working to the very end as well. But his story is by far the worst. It's got some nice moments, but it's fucking awful. It's so not thought out. Anyway, right. In the carriage compartment, he's been great whenever, when he first meets Christopher Lee, he's trying to be nice to everyone, and this guy is not nice to me, and he looks around the others. He's got an energy about him, like Roy Castle. There's an energy, an enthusiasm, which works, and it gets you on board. That's a lovely guy. They're all lovely guys. You wouldn't mind being in the compartment with these, apart from Christopher Lee's character, but the rest of them are all lovely. Do they deserve the fate that they're getting? Do they deserve it? Well, I'd say no. But anyway, so he's there, and he meets Peter Cushing as well. Peter Cushing initially stares around everyone in a very cramped set. The camera does Alan Hume's camera work works wonders, and it extends that carriage just because they're using a technoscope. poor man's, pure, cinemascope and all that. The camera moves around, and you've got ample space. You'd actually be cramped in like that, and they are with a little bit of artistic license. But the camera manages to make everyone stand out as Peter Cushing eyeballs them all to assess his new guests in the House of Horrors, and Donald Sutherland is kind of like, they all look at him in that sequence, the opening sequence, but Donald Sutherland is kind of looking out the window like that, and he gets wind that he's being looked at, and he sort of turns around, and those big eyes kind of like messes with his tie a little bit, like that, and then goes back to the window. He acts better, or he's given more to do in the compartment than he is given in his actual bloody story, which is a crying shame. And this story is The Vampire. Before we start, Milton Subotsky hates vampires. Made no bones about this. His stake in the claim is that they're shit, they're boring, they're stupid, they don't work. I've seen lots of little interviews and things that he said. He never liked them, and he'd used them in several movies, but he always took the piss out of them, and this is no exception, because this is the vampire tale now. So, Donald Sutherland, who plays, what does he play? Dr. Bob Carroll. Dr. Bob. Was that the Muppet Show? Dr. Bob. Yeah. And he has a new bride called Nicole, played by Jennifer Jane. Sweet Jesus. You meet her first of all with her hair massively tied up in a big, stupid, snail thing at the back of her head. But when her hair's down, and she's French. Jennifer Jane's not French. She's British, but she does but in a film full of accents, she does a really cliched yet still very effective French accent, and it works. And anyway, they got married, whistle-stop marriage, big romance, and he's took her back to a New England town, which is a very Shepperton-based studio set, which looks just like a quaint old English cottage. Anyway, he's a doctor in a small town, and he's Dr. Bob Carroll. And he has another doctor, Dr. Blake, played by Max Adrian, and this guy looks like Peter Stormare, or Stormier, you'll know who I mean. And he's got sort of a long, big nose, long face, which kind of turns. It's like a horse's face, but kind of turns at the end, and it can be very sinister, as indeed this guy will be. Playfully malevolent, shall we say. And so, please, this is my wife, this is my colleague, Dr. Blake. Oh, sorry, I should say in the meantime, they've arrived in their new home, and Donald Sutherland has managed to, he's so naff, I'll be honest, he's terrible in this, he's a great actor, but in the compartment in the train, he's brilliant, but in this sequence, he's fucking awful, he's really diabolical, because he's given nothing to work with. Subotsky didn't write that character and didn't flesh him out in any way, shape or form. Like Alan Freeman's character, gave him nothing to work with. He's barely in that sequence of the creeping vibe, barely in it at all. Anyway, it's his fucking story. So Donald Sutherland, he cuts his finger, and Subotsky loved Nosferatu. Max Schreck played Count Graf Orlok, Nosferatu. What's our main protagonist called? Antagonist called Dr. Schreck. Ta-da! So you can see all the influences there, and all the name dropping, and he cuts his finger. So she comes over and she licks the wound. It's his wife, and she's gorgeous. You let her, I think. And anyway, she meets Dr. Blake, and it's very clearly, he's lovely. He's filmed from behind when he meets her. Oh, it's great to meet you and all this. And you see her face drop, and she's like, nice to meet you. and blah 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 in Frenchy accent, and like, but she's clearly not happy at all. So they go to work, and there's a little lad who's having sort of bad dreams and blood loss. They say like, oh, it's Dr. Blake, you need to come look at this, says Donald Sutherland, you know, because this boy, it's his blood. Well, he got a low. I can't remember what he says. Like, he's like, is it just the quality of the blood? No. It's the quantity of the blood. There's less of it. it's great, isn't it? And this is where the accents go wrong again. We're meant to be in America now, and you've got the mother of this little lad. He's got these two, you know, puncture wounds on his neck. Ooh, puncture wounds, you say? And she's clearly from the Cotswolds herself. Like, you know, no attempt at doing an American accent, none whatsoever. But Max Adrian is you know, American, and his accent's properly there. And when he sees these wounds, and he says to Don Sutherland, you know, if you're in medieval times, he's got less blood, and you know, it's a vampire. And he's like, oh, fuck off, man! You know, Jesus, what stupidity is that? But cut back to the house, the lovely new marital homestead. And they're cutting away on their meal. And there's a great line, more steak, honey. Donald says to his missus, more steak. They're eating steak, but steak as in a steak in the heart, a wooden steak, you know. And they'll kill the vampire. And obviously only on the second viewing are you going to get that joke. You know what I mean? But it's done there. It's deliberate. It's on purpose. And she says no anyway. And what she's doing? Yeah, she's the fucking vampire. And she turns into a bat, you know, and goes out every sodding night. Massive sort of. This is where Subotsky doesn't give a shit about vampires and the mythology. She walks about and they arrive. He carries her over the threshold when they arrive at her new home, his old home. They got married. And he takes her in. It's bright binging sunshine. They've been outside in the daylight. She's a vampire. Clearly, Dr. Blake works during the day. You know, there's practice and all that. So these vampires, they're not applying the usual rules and mythology. That's fine. But they will stick to certain things though. Sign of the cross and the stake. They will do that. Anyway, fucking Dr. Blake says to Don Sutherland, look, basically, your wife's a vampire. And like, you say, what, you insane? You know, no, she is. She's a vampire. I know what she's been doing. She's been drinking the blood of this kid. Basically, this is what he says. I'm going to cut this short now. Because this is the least effective story. I do apologise. I obviously need to drink some more of this, don't I? His wife has said to Don Sutherland, so this boy you're talking about, how are they going to work out what's happened to him? Well, we've got a laboratory and we'll work on the blood and all this. Oh, no, and where's this laboratory? Oh, Dr. Blake has it where he stays. He's a very private man, you know. He's a very lonely man. And she's like, okay then, because clearly she knows that he's sussed her. So she go and he will be able to prove evidence that she's a vampire. So I'm going to go and kill him. So we get the second of the Luton walks will transpire here, and it's a good extended sequence. He comes out of his office. He's been doing some blood tests. Well, whatever he does, like, you know, and he comes out, like, goes down his third floor, walks down some stairs, and then you hear other footsteps. Pure Val Luton cat people, and he hears it too. Goes down some more stairs, more footsteps. You see him looking back, and then you see some very sexy legs with the 1960s. They're not stilettos, but they're high heels, but and a little pencil skirt, and she's coming down the stairs and all that, like. And this goes on for a fair bit, but it's a nice reversal of the usual Luton walk, because he doesn't have a jump scare thing. He goes to the front door and he's like, opens it, fuck this, and going back up again. So he goes back up, and this is brilliant. He actually reversed the whole thing. He goes after the one who's pursuing him, and of course she turns around. You don't see her face, you just see her legs. Disappears again, like, and he goes all the way back up to his floor, and like, nothing there. Okay, about to walk back down again, and then suddenly a bat. These bats aren't any better than the other one, and you see bats in this sequence quite a bit. The bats aren't any better than the ones really in Scars of Dracula, which I reviewed very recently. They're a bit more linear, a bit more streamlined, a bit thinner, but they do move a bit better, I would say. And it comes flying towards him, and he goes, it's stupid this. He goes, and does that, and the shadow, well, of his arms, like, doing this. It's a cross on the wall behind in the shadow. So the bat fucking takes off. He now knows, Dr. Blake now knows, look, it's your wife. Well, I think he says to the, let's get this right, he says to the mother of the child, so he got bitten again last night. Well, that's happened again. You leave the window open, don't you? Well, fresh air's good for him. Fresh air's good for him, innit? In a Midwestern, American drawl. He was like, with your permission, can I sit up with him tonight, and just I'll watch over him. He's got a gun with him. This fucking thing's stupid. It is. You guys know the story, and it's so ridiculous. He sits there, anyway, which is a sort of a spoofy parody on Dracula, perhaps it was Dracula. Lying in wait for Dracula to make his move, and like you're waiting for him, and it all goes tits up anyway. So, but the window's open, and you see this fucking bat. That's the noise bats make when they fly. Like that. And he runs up and he shuts the window like that, and then the bat hits the fucking, like, because it's glass, I can see through it. I don't know, it's closed. Boom! It actually hits the glass, and he goes, fires a shot through it, and we don't see reaction of the kid. We don't see the mum or the dad or anyone in the family come up to see what's taking place there. Bat fucks off. Bat then arrives in human form as Jennifer Jane in negligee and hair. Oh, sweet. She is splendid. And Donald Sutherland's there, like, now realising, oh shit, and she's been shot through the hand. You go, oh, I cut my hand. I can't do the accents. I can't do the French accents. I went to shut the window and I cut my hand. Oh, whatever. On what? On what? It's bullshittery. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. So we cut then to Dr. Blake saying to Don Sutherland the next day, Dr. Blake's sharpening a steak. This will kill your wife, because your wife's a vampire. So get it right, man. Just do it now. You'll watch, she'll come back. She takes the form of a bat to glut herself on blood of her victims. So, drive this through her heart, and you're done. And he's like, and Donald Sutherland again, you forget he's even in this fucking episode. And he's like, well, that's my wife. I can't kill my wife. Oh. Anyway, that night, it happens again. She'll go and find someone else, blah, blah, and another victim. And he's lying there in bed, his PJs, and she comes back. You see, this time he sees the bat, and then suddenly she's on the other side of the window in negligee. Gets back into bed, and she looks astonishing. And he's there, like, and he leans over. I love you. And he strokes his shoulder, and he turns her over, and then suddenly he's got the steak. He doesn't cough. some more steak, dear, honey. And he kills her. And then we cut to the police being there. And he's like, look, so the coppers going like here. And they're proper like New York coppers. They're not whatever, it's fucking Shepherd Studios. So you're saying she's a vampire, you know. You asked me to believe this shit, you know. Yeah, Dr. Blake will tell you. Ask Dr. Blake. He told me. He gave me the steak. And Dr. Blake turns up. It's like, well, this is nonsense. This is pure nonsense. But she attacked you. You know, my wife attacked you. You told me. You said to kill her with the steak. It's like, I said nothing of the sort, and all like, this is madness. Right, cuff him, get him out of here. And they all leave the place. He gets arrested and has to be escorted out. And like the inspector and the doctor walk out, Dr. Blake walk out. They've left the murder victim there. There's no crime scene stuff, no forensics, nothing there at all. They just left her there. And this guy goes, leaving the body there, goes like, do you want to lift home, Doc? No, I prefer to walk home. Yeah, okay. These nut jobs, hey? You know, that kind of shit. Like, off he goes. And then we cut. I love this film, but I hate this moment. Hate it. The camera zooms in on our boy, Dr. Blake. He says, there's no room in this town for 2 doctors. Or 2 vampires. Ooh, and then does this pose, and then in a film with good editing, this is a bad editing shot. It suddenly becomes an animated shot of a bat fucking flying off. Like, you go, oh no, God, he was a vampire as well. And it's stupid. It's utterly stupid, folks. So these vampires now walk around in daylight all the time, but they can't compete with each other. So they have this sort of tit for tat sort of thing. But it's meant to be the other guys. It's meant to be Donald Sutherland's story. He's barely in it. He is barely in the story. And like he sits there and like, oh my God, here's the final story. Let's tell us, you know, what's the card? And of course the card is, well, you've already guessed, haven't you? I've shown you a couple of times already. But you can't have too much death in the world, can you? Death, all our cards are the same, we're all death. You're telling us that we can't avoid this? And how the film dovetails into fate. Is it like a, it's a supernatural fate, and this is the cards foretell it all. Blah, 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 blah. You go through a tunnel, woo, the howling train hoots, whoosh, and suddenly Dr. Shrek is gone. And there's a lovely edit. This works really well. He's gone, and the cards are still there, and they're like, where did he go? Where did he go? Oh, sorry, I should have said. Sorry, let's backtrack slightly. Or no, maybe it's now. What? So none of us have a future after getting off this train. None of us have a future. We don't go anywhere. Oh, but maybe the train crashes, and there's another stupid part. Maybe the train crashes, and we're all supposed to die. Well, and I forget who gets up, but one of them gets up to try and pull the emergency cord, and Christopher Lee stops them. He says like, "Don't be stupid, man. That's the worst that you can do. That'll probably cause an accident." He's not wrong about that, but it's there for a reason. If you're gonna try to save yourself, that's the best that you can do. But it can lead to disaster. But anyway, so but they pull suddenly. Peter Cushing's gone, and they go like, well, hang on, we haven't died. There's been no train crash, and they pull up at a stop, and like, oh, maybe we're at Bradley, this bizarre place of Bradley, we're at Bradley now. Right, okay, let's get all our stuff. Nothing's happened to us. They got all their cases off and all this kind of stuff, like, and they get off there, and they're on this really, and it's superbly eerie, so well lit. It's almost like a cowboy sort of station, but at night time with mist and all sorts of, and there's red lights, and there's a weird sort of fantail lighting in the background. Not sure what that's meant to be, but it's very evocative regardless. And they're all there, and they're going like, well, they turn around, the train's gone, the train's disappeared, like Dr. Shrek's just gone into thin air. The train's gone as well, and they're stood there like in reverie, and then a newspaper flutters down to them, and this is what I don't like, the way they've already said, well, maybe the train crashes, but the train didn't crash and we survived. So that shouldn't be the thing which is what has killed them. But the newspaper comes down and it says train crash, 5 killed. So it's all of them who've been killed in a train crash. You've already just said that the train didn't crash. And then this is where Subotsky's writing really doesn't really work. In a lot of these stories, the endings aren't very clear cut. They're kind of like, well, hang on, what happened? I don't get it. I know he tried to fit them in, probably from longer screenplays into the TV version he wanted to do, and then obviously making them into a movie with the overarching story and the little interludes and all that. Like, maybe he had to truncate things a little bit, maybe, but it still doesn't really work. And as much as you might love the film, they are niggles which really get to you, and they get to me certainly. So in it, 5 dead in a train crash, and like, well, and they turn around and there's what they think is Dr. Shrek at the end of the concourse, the platform, and he's there, and he turns around, and of course he is a skull. In fact, if you can see up there, that is the image actually of him, of Peter Cushing, skull face, because he's death. He's just death. Death's just doing a job. Death commutes as well, you know. Why wouldn't he? It's ridiculous. You know, you can't really take this film in any way, shape or form seriously. But that doesn't, you know, knock the film at all, because it's such immense fun. The stories, okay, let's go through them. The werewolf is great. It doesn't make a lot of sense at the end of the day, as none of them do. But it's very atmospheric. It's got lots of little red herrings. They throw a lot into that sequence, and I like it a lot. I think it's great, and it's atmospheric, and the suspense there. Creeping Vine has just the little girl. It really is the thing that hits me most of all. The rest of it is like it's the crinoid, you know. But yeah, I'm not bothered too much by it in the least. You know, the threat of fucking creeping vines. The voodoo one is the musical, basically, and it's dead enjoyable. Roy Castle makes it. Kenny Lynch makes it, and but the ending is really naff. It's just like he passes out. What actually genuinely? Oh, come on! You need a more positive denouement to these, and all of them need that. They're all left ambiguous. I can maybe see why Subotsky thought, well, you don't know what happened, so the turning of the 5th card will be the thing. But they don't make enough of that. If you know what I mean. Anyway, and then Disembodied Hand is terrific. It's such good fun. It plays on so many previous movies, and you know, the thing about a severed hand, you know, it's like a spider. So it's, you know, and it's fucking creepy. And this thing, it's a hand. It hasn't got a brain. It hasn't got eyes. How does it know where to fucking go? You know, who's guiding it? It's Michael Goff's, Eric Lander's, you know, haunted spirit possessing his old severed hand. It's stupid, but it's great at the same time. Made tremendous by Michael Michael Gough's performance, and of course Christopher Lee's performance, which is outstanding. And it's just such good fun. But again, the new one, it's like, it's blind. Yeah, I get where the point is, but it's like, oh, he's not dead. You're not dead. None of these guys are dead. And none of these guys, when you think about it, deserve the fate. They don't deserve it. They've all, by happenstance and fate and destiny, met upon this train carriage, and death happens to come alongside them. Death must have a lot. He's got to be a busy boy. What about all the other trains and planes and automobiles that have got people who are going to die? Is death also there? How many deaths are there around who are going to sit there and play cards with you? Do you know what I mean? It's... Yeah, thinking too much about it, aren't I? I do love the film though. It's so colourful. The camera work is great. The set design is wonderful. People going about the hand. The hand in the first scene where the hand is seen coming across the back of the chair as Christopher Lee's driving. You can see the seam running along the hand, and it's never really bothered me, I'll be honest. I think Reece Shearsmith in the documentary about this movie does say they could have stuck a Stanley knife and just cut that off. They could have made it look a lot better. Yeah, they could, and it is daft. Subotsky said, and Freddie Francis, not Subotsky, Freddie Francis, who is a superb director, who said there was no other way of doing that shot. We had to use that shot. And you're like, well, you could do it from another angle, surely. And the thing is, like, I noticed, because other critics have mentioned this many times, I don't really have a problem with that scene. I don't. But that hand was used again. I think I said before, didn't I? And because Subotsky loved it, so the hand is great. That's you use it. Tales from the Crypt, it's like, again, it's going for the throat, But, and of course, Evil Dead 2, the greatest film of a severed hand with a malevolent life of its own, is Evil Dead 2. There are many others, but Evil Dead 2 is the one for me. But this still works. Colourful, atmospheric. By far the best bits are in the train carriage and the interactions, and mainly because you have Peter Cushing, and Cushing is the one who owns those scenes. He is magnificent, despite the fact he can't maintain an accent. It's not that he can't maintain it, he can't place it. Like, well, where are you meant to be from? Well, it's German for fright and fear. This is a guy that can't even do a Scottish accent, as in Neil McCallum. But he nails all these sequences. His his face, his countenance, the way he balefully looks and regards each individual. I think I said earlier about when his briefcase hits the floor and all these parchments and telegrams and letters and memoirs and stuff spill out. Now you know what he is, that he's dead. Oh, of course, I've missed one of the best lines ever. Towards the end of it, like, Christopher Lee, who the big debunker, has said to him, of course, he goes like, death, there's no way out for any of us, so, who are you? And like Peter Cushing just turns around to him, to his cinematic arch enemy and rival and best friend, just turned around and says like, have you not guessed? He's dead. It's fucking obvious. So what's all this other paraphernalia in his briefcase? What is all this stuff? I would love to know. I find that really fascinating. You missed this guy. Maybe it is like little memos, You know, in this day and age, it'd be fucking email. Well, it'd just be email straight to his brain, wouldn't it? Like, you know, there's another train over there. There's two towers in New York City about to come down. There's over 3,500 people are going to die there. Get your ass over there and meet them on the way down. You know what I mean? If he's deaf, he's a fucking busy bastard, isn't he? Now, Roy Castle and Tubby Hayes did some music for this movie, as I said before. And I'm going to play for you now. If we get away with it. Roy Castle released a single, much in the way of the Monster Mash. Taking the piss, but celebrating at the same time. And it's meant to be the voodoo background. See, even back in the 60s, there was massive sort of merchandising that took place.
The night was cold. I'd lost my way.
Usually music.
From out of the fog stood this house on the hill. As I
House on the hill.
Drive, it was eerie and still. I knocked on the door, and the door opened wide, and the creature within said, "Oh, come inside. I'm Dr. Terra, so glad you could call. This candle, your room's at the end of the hall."
I like it, you know. And again, like, you know.
Well, white coursers, would you care to join our blood group? Dr. Tara's house of horrors, you hear moans, you hear groans.
See, Amicus, you can sit back and like you can take the piss out of it, but they knew they were taking the piss at the same time, I think. Whereas like Hammer were like very, very sort of super serious, and even the naffest of Hammer movies, which we all know have, you know, some glorious moments as well. But you take they're kind of annoying at the same time. But Amicus knows they weren't taking things seriously to begin with, so you can't really level an argument against them. Oh, some shit ones, don't get me wrong. Monster Club is awful. It's an awful film. It has one good story. But an interesting conceit though, a Monster Club in the, you know, deep in the heart of like London. A club.
My mother-in-law. Here, I didn't mean to break you up in that fireplace on his funny.
The maid screamed with horror and started to shake, then opened the window and jumped in the lake.
The lake that Roy Castle fell into.
Somebody's moved the lake! The chap with the bottle, who was drunk in room 10, swore, "He'd never touch a drop of the hard stuff again." And the gallon coke can lost his nerve, ran away, and he hadn't been...
Got the accent right there. Right, cliche, but right.
Somebody's left a lake in the driveway. I'm stopping wet.
Please do meet you.
In the house of horrors, Dr. Terror will
And of
wait
course,
for the unwary
the House of Horrors. It says House of Horrors. Amicus arrival for Hammer. Hammer then realised, shit, what a great tagline that is. Right, so Rasputin the Mad Monk and, oh, what was it now? Was it the Reptile? The double bill of that. So two posters together, and in the middle they put like, from Hammer, the House of Horror. And of course their TV show, which I've reviewed several episodes of in depth, Hammer's House of Horror, you know. So they nicked what Amicus did. Oh, we'll use that, Doctor's House of Horror. They took that as their tagline. So that little rivalry, I think, is really good. And rivalry is great for anything really. It spares the two people, the two combatants, on to strive and do better things, and you know, it's healthy. You know, rivalry can be very healthy, and especially in this case, Hammer ruled. Amicus still did very well. Laurie Brewster has took Amicus on now, with Megan Trementhick and a couple of other people, and they are trying to get Amicus up and running again. They've been trying for the last few years now. So, but Hammer under John L. Gore, I can't really say if I'm on board. I can't. I haven't done anything worth anything at all since they took over. Oh, Hammer's back. Eddie Izzard and fucking Dr. Jekyll bullshittery. No, it's crap. No. So I can't get on board with that. But Amicus, yeah, there's a lot you could do with Amicus. It's a great studio, a great, you know, back catalogue of movies, which can be, you know, redone. It can be the ethos behind the portmanteau movies. Let's not forget, Amicus made their name with portmanteau movies, anthologies. I'm not sure if today's audiences like that kind of thing. We like long TV shows, or even short, you know, TV seasons, mini seasons, with individual stories but overarching, interconnecting characters and that sort of thing. So I don't know. It could be done. Amicus certainly deserves a new lease of life, and there's many more films which I could go through in this lackadaisical fashion. It's a long train journey. In fact, you know, I've gone longer than the train journey that these guys had, and they went to eternity and back, you know. I do recommend Dr. Terror's House of Horrors from Amicus. I think it's such an entertaining movie. It has some naff moments. It has some naff accents and bits where you're like, well, that does not make any sense. But at the end of the day, you watch it, you're engrossed in it. You love these disparate characters, and you love the fact that Peter Cushing is upstaging Christopher Lee. He's more malevolent and scary than Christopher Lee ever was, and yet he's the meekest and mildest of men. You know, he just happens to be death. You know, that's his job. He can't help that, can he? He's still pretty pleasant about the whole thing. Yeah. But Christopher Lee is great. Tremendously great. They're all great in the carriage. I think they're the scenes that make the movie. The stories. Creeping Vine is made by the little girl. You know. Oh, Jesus, God. That brings that entire story, and in fact, the film doesn't have any heart and soul which bothers you until you get to that bit, and nothing afterwards will ever reach that level. Yeah. It's no fun without Rusty. Yeah. In a film which is so, you know, avant-garde and cavalier about everything, that cements it and brings it down to it and makes it really powerful. But great score by Elizabeth Lutyens, or Lytens. It's a very hard name to pronounce. It's Lutyens. She scored a few Amicus movies, and The Skull in particular. I've been playing all the score you can get from Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, and The Skull has been thrown in there as well. And it's all very woodwinds and weird sort of discordant strings and tremolos and piano. But listen to the oboe, or is it the clarinet? Sometimes you can never tell, you know. And if you start searching the score for this movie, you will find a lot of the Caribbean, the West Indian, Kenny Lynch songs. I wasn't going to play those. They would have, they would have been great, but it would have disrupted the entire thematic momentum, I think. So anyway, folks, I recommend this movie massively. I've done a huge video on this now because they've got 5 different stories and then the big intervening story as well. So it's, you've done 5-6 movies in one go there. Anyway, I think we've reached our stop. Is it? Pardon me, boy. Is this the Bradley Vania station? Yeah, track 22. Well, that's going down too much. That's a shame. So yeah, a bit like props Peter myself. I've always got like a bevy in my hand. Anyway, do comment below, let me know what you think about this classic 60s movie, which formed a template for an entire studio's output, really. They did do feature films as well, but there's some great, Asylum, oh dear God, yeah. And the feature film would be, as in one story, The Beast Must Die. Anyway, folks, I feel our time is up. Oh, it's here. It's here. Let's hope. Thing is, death in the tarot cards doesn't mean death. It means change. It means change. But look at that. Is that what you're getting from that? No. You're getting And in horror movies, back when this film was made, tarot cards weren't really shown in movies. Well, not in British movies anyway. And they weren't massively well known, in the pop culture. So they were exotic in this movie. The whole thing, this strange deck of cards here. I just play poker with these. And the whole thing about when Roy Castle's tapping him normally I play with chips, but and the whole COD culture sort of thing. But these bastards, they have power, They have powers. Right, folks, I have been on show with Kilt-Man, so please, in the meantime, this ever ticket inspecting in between time, please keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. I'm going to see you all. Can I put these specs on again? They do look very 60s-ish, don't they? I'm going to see you all at a very satanic and sinister train platform near you, littles.